Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
So I've got another kind of sport to talk about today, and that is the sport of board games. So for our science segment, I wanted to talk about one board game in particular and how AI has entered the realm and what happens.
Oh, no.
And what happens. Now, I'm fairly new to this game. My wife and I have started playing it, but I'm nowhere near an expert. And when I see when I watch the YouTube tutorials, I'm like, oh, that's nice. All right. So basically, I
go for like an hour or something.
Yeah,
You know?
Well, there are some like 5-minute ones, and those are really good. Yeah. There are some people.
Okay.
And I didn't realize how into this game that people are. It has a heavy amount of involvement. So the game is called Go. It's an ancient Chinese board game, and it's played on a board, which might look like a chessboard when you look at it, but it's a grid of 19 by 19 squares, and you have black and white stones basically, and you put the stones on the intersecting lines of the squares in order to gain territory, and also to try and capture the stones of your opponent.
Oh, so you put the stone on the intersecting line?
Yeah, where the lines cross.
Actually on the square.
Not in the square, but on the lines where.
Gotcha.
Where the lines cross. Yeah,
Cool.
What we thought. We also made that. Yeah, we also was like, oh, really? That's where the stones goes. So it's got like a background in military thinking, right? Because you are trying to gain territory and capture enemy soldiers and things like that, And so you have to use tactics. You have to think tactically, and it's got its own set of rules about how you capture and how you control and maintain and so on and things like that, and how you create a front and lines and push back and all those kinds of things. So, so it's actually a really interesting game. Now, this game is considered to be one of the most complex board games that there are because it has it has more combinations of ideas and moves that you can make. My understanding is, then there are atoms in the universe. All right. So the amount of combinations of plays.
Whoa.
And people discover new play styles all the time. Although most of the obvious ones have obviously been discovered, but there are still 1 in 10,000 plays that no one has conceived of before that come out, that people make up on the spot and lead to victory, right? Sometimes victory can happen because of one move that's played in this game. So it's very tactical. There's a lot of thinking that goes into it. And I am nowhere near the level of thinking that some of these people are, right? So you've got levels of masters of play, like you've got chess masters, right? So I think it goes up to the 9th.
Yes.
It goes up to the 9th Dan level or something like that. So these guys are like the black.
It's like karate.
Yeah, they're like the ultra black belts of playing Go. So when I say this is a very involved sport, I'm not kidding. And a lot of places in Asia, in Korea, for example, and so on, they are so mad about it, like crazy mad about this particular type of game, that they live stream it, they show it on TV. They have commentators, professional commentators who will have a board behind and they'll copy the moves of the players and explain what the player is doing or what they think is going on. So I cannot emphasize how dead set serious people are about this game. Let's get to the science bit, right? It was considered the holy grail for a long time to create an AI that could beat a really highly ranked player, because it was considered really hard to do. There was a mathematician in 1965, I.J. Good. He said that the following about creating an AI. He said, Go on a computer. In order to program a computer to play a reasonable game of Go, rather than merely a legal game, it is necessary to formalize the principles of good strategy or to design a learning program. The principles are more qualitative and mysterious than in chess and depend more on judgment. So I think it will be even more difficult to program a computer to play a reasonable game of Go than of chess. Before 1915, the only AIs that really existed to play Go were amateur. They didn't go beyond amateur level. So enter Google DeepMind and a program called AlphaGo. AlphaGo is an AI that was designed and conceived to study many models of play and many players and so on, and use that as a reference to essentially play and defeat better players in Go. And so the way it works, and I'm not a computer programmer, so I apologize for this, but it has several databases that work together, and they use this branching technology to predict how a game is going to go. And what it does is it calculates the different possible moves on like branches, right? Like think of the good old time travel thing where if you make this decision, then you're going to branch off into this timeline or branch off into that, the good old like TV shows. Now, but this calculates all of them, and we're talking about lots. So this is a very advanced AI. And then it makes a move based on the most likely path. It predicts the path to victory based on the moves that your opponent's playing, the branches, and it chooses the branch that will lead it to victory. This is what they did, and it took a while to build this model. Now, there's a much better documentary on YouTube called AlphaGo, and I encourage people to watch it because it's amazing, and there's a link to it in our show notes, and it's really good the way it presents this. And what happened was, first when they built AlphaGo, they decided to pitch, or they invited Fan Kuai, who is a second Dan professional and European champion. So in 2015, he played AlphaGo. And he walked in from the documentary. He walked in, pretty confident, thinking, all right, it's an AI, but I'm sure I'll have a good go at it. He lost 5-0. Five matches to 0 was the result. AlphaGo defeated him 5-0. And he actually, he was questioning his whole life, basically. He felt defeated in more ways than one. Yeah. So he really felt defeated.
I must admit that they come to a segue from our previous Faith Beyond Borders about being sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I know you've lost, but you keep on going, man.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And ultimately, he took it on the chin, as we would say. He picked up his shoulders and kept going. But he was shocked to lose 5-0. He didn't expect to be defeated. This is the European champion, right? So he didn't expect to lose like that. He was then hired by Google DeepMind to be a consultant and to support the work that they're doing. So he would play games, and the AI would analyze, and they would analyze, and they keep building the algorithms and so on. And so it came time to put AlphaGo to the ultimate test. A 5-round match against a 9th Dan champion who at the time was the third best Go player in the world. So Korean player Lee Saubolle. So he had a 9th Dan rank. They call him one of the strongest players in the history of Go. He started his career in 1996, and he was promoted to a professional Dan rank at the age of 12. So we're talking about a child prodigy level kind of guy here. 18 international titles at least, and he's considered a national hero in South Korea because he plays in an unconventional and creative style. So when he was invited to play against AlphaGo, he accepted, and he predicted that he would defeat AlphaGo in a landslide. As I said, that he was going to completely destroy AlphaGo. The rules of the competition were essentially it was a 5-game match. The prize was $1 million, and it would use Chinese rules. So for each game, there was a 2-hour set time limit, followed by 3 60-minute overtime periods, and each game would start at 1 p.m. in Korean Standard Time, so 1 in the afternoon. The match was set up and played at the Four Seasons Hotel. It was live streamed, and there were commentators upon commentators. I've seen some, it was amazing, right? Who were providing their expert commentary. And there was a sort of like a big Google Cloud platform server room located close by where they would monitor how the game was going and what the AI was doing. Between the 9th and the 15th of March, the 5 games were played, and here were the results. In game 1, Lee appeared to be in control throughout much of the match, but AlphaGo gains the advantage in the final 20 minutes and Lee resigned. So Lee was defeated in the first match. He stated afterwards that he'd made a critical error at the beginning of the match. He said that the computer strategy in the early part of the game was excellent, and that the AI had made one unusual human move that no human Go player would have made. So
Oh,
this is the thing, right? So remember that these branching possibilities, and the computer picked what looked like an unconventional move, but was actually a strategic winning move. One expert said that AlphaGo's position was favorable in the first part of the game, and considering that Lee started to come back with move 81 before making a questionable moves at 119 and 123, followed by the losing move at move 129. A commentator said that AlphaGo's game had greatly improved since it had beaten the European champion in 2015. And some said that the computer was even more aggressive than when it had played against Fan Hui, who was the European champion. Some people commented that Lee Sedol seemed stunned by AlphaGo's strong play on the 102nd move. And after watching AlphaGo's move, Lee mulled over his options for more than 10 minutes. So he actually sat there for 10 minutes trying to work out his options. Wow. So AlphaGo won the first match. So in the second match, Lee stated afterwards that AlphaGo played a nearly perfect game. From the beginning of the game, I did not feel like there was a point that I was leading. One of the creators of AlphaGo, Demis Hassabis, said that the system was confident of victory from the midway point of the game, even though the professional commentators couldn't tell who was ahead. And so AlphaGo won the second match as well. Michael Redmond noted that AlphaGo's 19th stone, move 37, was creative and unique. It was a move that no human player would have made. So can you see the theme emerging here? That the AI was doing all of these key moves that no one else, no human being, was likely to consider or may have stumbled across at some point. But it, through the branching technology, was just picking these unique moves that would give victory that human beings wouldn't consider. There was a game, I don't know if it was the third game, which I'm about to talk about. I'll talk about it first, and then if this is the one, I'll talk about it. So in the third game, there were still doubts from players about whether AlphaGo was as strong as a human being, how it would go. The third game was described as the one that removed all doubt, though, because AlphaGo won the third game as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it says, so a commentator said, AlphaGo won so convincingly as to remove all doubt about its strength from the minds of experienced players. In fact, it played so well that it was almost scary. In forcing AlphaGo to withstand a very severe one-sided attack, Lee revealed its hitherto undetected power. Lee wasn't gaining enough profit from his attack. So in this one, it talks about how he went full on. He went on the attack. And even then, it wasn't enough to overwhelm the AI. One of the greatest virtuosos of the middle game had just been upstaged in black and white, clearly. And I think it was I don't know if it was the second or the third game, but at one point in the game, Lee made a move and got up and left. He didn't resign, but he got up and left just from the stress of the game. And he had a cigarette, and he was walking around and pacing and thinking. And in the meantime, AlphaGo made a move, again, one of these creative moves, and that when Lee came back, you see his face, he was in shock by the move. It was crazy. Again, I'd encourage people to watch the documentary because it's incredible. So, Game 4 came about. Lee chose to play a type of extreme strategy known as Amashi. Now, I have no idea what that is, but that's what he decided to do in response to AlphaGo's preference for Saubolle, which is attempting to win by many small gains when the opportunity arises. So it would try to take territory at the perimeter rather than the center. By doing so, his apparent aim was to force an all-or-nothing style situation, a possible weakness for an opponent strong at negotiation types of play, and one which might make AlphaGo's capability of deciding slim advantages largely irrelevant. So the first 11 moves were identical to the second game. Lee used the white stones. In the early game, Lee concentrated on taking territory at the edges and corners of the board, allowing AlphaGo to gain influence in the top and center. Lee then invaded AlphaGo's region of influence at the top with the 40 to 48th move, following the Amashi strategy that we talked about. AlphaGo responded with a shoulder hit move at 47, sacrificing 4 stones elsewhere and gaining the initiative for a number of moves. Lee tested AlphaGo with the 72nd to 76 moves without making a mistake, so he didn't make any errors. And by this point, the game commentators had begun to feel that Lee was losing, that it was a lost cause. However, an unexpected play at move 78, described as a brilliant Tetsuji, I'm not sure what that means, but a brilliant move anyway, turns the game around. The move developed a white wedge at the center and increased the game's complexity. This was described as a divine move or a god move, and the move had been completely unforeseen by anyone, and Lee beat AlphaGo in that game. So in the documentary, it shows them in the back room again. The programmers in the back room watching, and they just watch as the AI's number of possible ways to win starts to decline. So the AI fights back, but it can never gain the initiative again. And Lee Sedol finally beats the AI, and it resigned for that match.
Wow,
so
there you go.
His God move, it was described as a 1 in 10,000 move that Lee Sedol made. So he's a Go genius, right? So he made this one move that basically the AI couldn't overcome and lost, and the AI lost. So he got one, which was good.
Cool,
yeah.
cool.
And national hero, all those kinds of things, got a lot of applaud for it and so on. So then there was the fifth game. By this point, AlphaGo had already won it. The score was 3-1. And AlphaGo won the fifth game. So this one was described as being close. And one of the programmers, I think it was, stated that the result came after the program made a bad mistake early in the game. AlphaGo started to develop at top of the board as well as the center, and defended successfully against an attack by Lee during the 69th to 81st moves. And one of the commentators said that Lee was being overly cautious. AlphaGo regained equality and then played a series of moves described as unusual but subtly impressive, which gained a small advantage. Lee tried a Hail Mary pass around the 160s, but AlphaGo's defense was successful and it managed to win the match until Lee resigned. So Lee was closer in that one, but couldn't win. It was essentially the AI was considered victorious. Further AIs were created to play Go, which were even more powerful than AlphaGo.
Goodness me. Wow, getting stronger and stronger.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
AlphaGo was awarded 9th Dan status as well. Right up there. Yeah. And so now we have an AI, just like we have AIs that can master chess and so on, we have AIs that can win Go. The AI community generally says now that, all right, we've done board games. We don't really need to do this. We can now look at applications in other areas of life where AI now can start to improve people's lives. Or take over the world. It's got some options. There's some branching possibilities.
Oh, my goodness me. No.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah. But I strongly recommend the documentary AlphaGo on YouTube. It's free. It's a great documentary. It's well produced, and it does tell the story better than I just did. And
cool.
Isabel and I, when we watched it, we started at 12:30 at night. We thought, let's just watch 10 minutes and watch the rest tomorrow. We watched the whole thing because we were so drawn to it. It was incredible.
Okay,
an hour and
okay.
something. Yeah, it was just incredible. We encourage people to watch it because it's a lot of fun.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Technology. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/technology.